This is a good thing that we couldn't switch the thing because now I can't look at you.
Okay.
No, it's weird because I'm looking at myself asking these questions.
Oh my god, then I don't know what you want to do.
Nothing. I need to get my shit together. Pull my shit together. I'm gonna start recording now. Hi, welcome to Gay Monologues. This is Choobie.
Hello.
So Choobie, how are you doing today?
I am well, and yourself?
I am great now that I'm talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. I have been wanting to have you on here for a while because I've been thinking a lot about your episode when you came out as non-binary. But before we get into it, did you want to explain how we met?
Well, I have a podcast, as you all know, No Filters, No Fears, and I don't know. I just saw your what is it called? Your podcast, Gay Monologues, and I was like, oh, more queer content. So then I thought, let's follow them, and we did, and then I don't know, here we are.
Great. I guess I already kind of answered this earlier, but how do you identify?
I am a non-binary, gender non-conforming pansexual, and I use the pronouns they, them.
They, them. And how did you figure out how you figured out your identity? Because I personally find this so fascinating.
Well, it was a long story. It's a long story because I've been questioning since I was in high school. Never knew that there was a name for it, you know? In college, I was like, okay, I know I'm not physically a man, obviously, because hello. But I didn't feel neither or, like there was something wrong with me. Like I felt like there was something wrong with me. I don't know. I couldn't figure it out. Like I couldn't figure out why I was feeling this way. So it was like lots of time in my head because I wasn't sure if this is okay, if this is normal. Should I be feeling different or like, I don't know. It was just weird. And I don't know, a couple of years ago, the pronouns started emerging, you know, from our community, from the LGBTQ community. And I saw the non-binary and it made so much sense, you know, and feeling so alone for so long and having a word that felt like home to like represent like how you felt super nice. So, I mean, that's how I don't know, that's how I figured it out. I just went through the bliss, like figuring out, reading and just figuring out what the hell, if this was okay, if this was not okay.
I recently did an episode with LGBTQ2S terminology basics, but I still have trouble, first of all, kind of differentiating the difference between sex and gender, because I think that's the root of it in explaining what non-binary is.
I think obviously sex is what you were born with, like your genitals, and gender is what you identify with. So two different things. That's why people get it mixed up because they think it's the same one and the same, and it's not. Just like I'm non-binary, I don't feel like a man or a woman. It's neither or, but I identify as a pansexual, meaning what I'm attracted to, which is obviously pansexual means everything, you know, no questions. You're more than welcome, you know. But most people confuse those two, thinking that your sex and your gender are the same. I'm like, no, because what I'm attracted to has nothing to do with the person's gender, you know. So that becomes it could become confusing to some people. So I understand, you know, I don't blame you for being confused.
I hope not. So, Choobie, as a non-binary person, what kind of problems arise in your daily life? Because we both know that this society is built for the binary two genders, which obviously is false.
Well, it's difficult because of the way that I look. They think that they think that being non-binary, you have to look a certain way, like androgynous, or like, be a man, and or well, whatever you identify as, and look weird or
And
look
I'm not
different.
gonna lie, before meeting you, I had that bias that to be non-binary, you had to look androgynous.
Right, it's a preconceived notion that people give to non-binary people, which I think also is, it's just a social construct. Like, binary, non-binary here, there's a lot of people that look like me who unfortunately people think are, straight passing, because you wouldn't know until you speak to them. And I think that's the problem. It's just been difficult, obviously, getting hit on by straight people all the time. And then they realize, or for example, like dating people in this world, and then you come out to them as non-binary. To them, that automatically puts them in a box of like, okay, but what am I then? If I identify as this, what does that make the relationship now?
Right.
And that would be difficult, because then it make it seem like they're questioning themselves now.
Right.
So
So let's say somebody that identifies as um, a lesbian hits on you, and then, what does that make them? Do you think that challenges them?
I believe so, because they only see the physical. They're not actually understanding the psychological behind it, or who I am as a person. So they think that, oh, she's a femme, or a woman, whatever. And then it's like, that's not the case. So to them, that they could be leading into something that they don't want to be in. They're like, I'm not here to be dating a non-binary person. I want to date a woman, and if that's the case, then this is not gonna work out, because that's not what's happening. So it could be very, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's
Dishonest to the person in a way, because they don't know. It's
I
not like
was
we.
gonna say kind of discriminatory, because and it's strange because they're also part of the LGBTQS community, and to them that kind of stuff shouldn't matter. And so I want to ask, do you find that when people that are part of the LGBTQS2 community hit on you, do they respect your labels?
Well, this is the thing. Going back to what you said, I don't think it's discriminating. It's just that it's a preference. They could accept it, but they don't have to date me. There's a huge difference on that. Like, it's a preference. You don't like non-binary people? Okay, no problem. You don't have to date them. But it could become a problem. It is a problem in the community, because they feel like we need to make space for everybody, but everybody's like, oh, there's space for everybody already, even though they're not being accepting about that one particular thing. So it could become a headache. So yeah.
I have this idea that, because binary isn't real, there's more than one gender. And so the community, the LGBTQS community, has come up with so many labels. But what if we took away all the labels? Do you think that would help people, or would that make things worse for us?
I don't know. If we take out the labels, it's like living in the world we live in. Now nobody knows anything unless you say it. It will be just like that. There still will be problems, because once you open your mouth to state it, then it becomes an issue. So we live like that now. The straight and the queer people all in one, but nobody knows until they open their mouth. So.
But what if we all just went by preferences? Like you said, if a lesbian woman doesn't want to date a non-binary person, that's just a preference, right? But what if we just prefer people? Like, as a pansexual, isn't that how you go about the dating world? It's just who you prefer.
Yeah, and whatever catches my attention, whatever I'm attracted to. And if we did that, then, because it's true, it's what you're attracted to. That's what a pansexual is. It's like, you don't care about gender, you don't care about It's just if you're attracted to them, you're attracted to them. If we went on the world like that, then I don't know, a happier world. Everybody's just like, oh, I like you. Okay, let's go.
Right.
But
So then, if everybody did live like that, then really the labels, to me, at least in my world, the labels don't really matter because you're just choosing somebody for who they are.
and that goes along with like the non-binary. I didn't have to choose that for myself, but being lost for so long and wanting to feel like I wasn't going crazy, and actually that it was important to me to have it. Just like when you're non-binary, you don't have to choose your pronouns. You could choose whatever the hell feels right to you. People still use she or they, her, and them. See, so it's just whatever feels right for you, you choose. So yeah.
And something else that I wanted to bring up, because I know I've made this mistake with you a couple times. How does someone handle saying the wrong pronouns?
Well, if you say her, for example, I will just say, hey, it's them. And then you say, okay. And then we move on. But I have to address her right away instead of letting it linger, because then it becomes a bigger problem. Instead of like, oh my God, remember that one day, you call me. Yeah, that's just prolongs it for no reason. So just say it right away and get it out of the way. But to the other person, don't feel bad. It happens. You're gonna slip up. Just just if you catch yourself, just say the right one, and then that's it. Nobody gets hurt.
But what if it happens multiple times? Because it is difficult. Going back to, I'm not sure if you watched it, but I interviewed my friend Perez, and we talked about how he eliminated the word faggot from his vocabulary. But it's difficult. It's difficult to erase that certain words from your vocabulary, and with pronouns, you're taking away your visual from what you've learned from society to the words in your head. And you're not completely taking away the words. You're not eliminating it. You're trying to switch it out. So it is a lot more difficult. So how many times is too many times?
Well, if you've known the person forever, like my best friend, I know she tries. Because it's difficult. 20 years of friendship is going to be fucking hard for you to be like, hey, it's they, them now, because that's who I've been. And, especially when she's known that I've been lost forever. But yeah, it could be difficult. But if it's somebody new and they just do it, and then you told them the first and second time and they still keep doing it, they just don't care. They're literally disregarding your emotions. And you don't need to hang out with people like that. So, but if it's a person just give them time. Because in reality, it's going to be difficult. I do it too sometimes to myself, I do. But because I'm used to it as well in my programming for so long, having those pronouns being used towards me and me like perpetuating it and letting it happen, that now that I found the they, them, and it feels right, you're just deprogramming yourself, reconditioning, reframing that, and little by little, you will eventually get to the point where it's second nature to you.
And I know I've heard this in one of your episodes of No Filters, No Fears, how you talked about how in the Spanish language, there's not really anything neutral. So how do you handle it in that world?
Just use the female pronouns, ella, because there's literally no way to actually go about it. So
yeah,
it's like a compromising there, because there's literally nothing that substitutes that. So,
and I'm just thinking about this now. I wonder how, because we do live in countries where there are multiple languages and there is English where neutral labels exist. I wonder how non-binary people who only speak one language, such as Spanish, how do they live in that world?
well, I can't. Thank God I know both languages and live in the States. I've heard my friends it's difficult. Like in Brazil, there's none of that. Like there is no context for being, a non-binary, and it's hard. But you just have to work yourself around it and try your best until there are words for it in your native language.
Mhm.
You know, it's just hard. The words adapting. So.
Yeah, and I hope sooner than later.
I mean, we're getting there. It's 2020. We have more pronouns. I mean, more labels than ever.
Hmm.
The flag just upgraded to
Oh,
two other colors. So hey.
yeah. Right. So we also talked about um, how I've never personally come across a non-binary person, and you haven't come across too much as well. So do you think because in other languages there's not a lot of neutrality when it comes to pronouns, do you think that's why it's so rare to come across a non-binary person?
Actually, no. I don't think it's because it has anything to do with the language. Because I was reading somewhere that in your whole lifetime, you're not going to meet one. Like, you're going to be that one non binary person that doesn't know none other than a binary person. And it's crazy. But I did. I broke that. And I met them. And I was like, this is freaking awesome. So now
Mhm.
there's two in the city. But I don't know, it's just they're just everywhere, just so far apart that, especially now with the pandemic, you really can't go to those meetings and
Mhm.
actually find other people. But I don't think it has anything to do with language. It's just if people know that they're non-binary, they actually haven't accepted it or they don't know it. Like if like when I was trying to figure out if this what it was, and hey, there might be more out there. Who knows?
Well, I'm glad you found others. Because I know for me, it was such a big deal when I started meeting queer friends because there are certain issues that only somebody who is like you can relate to. And I know we just talked about, you navigating through the dating world as a non-binary, but are there other problems that you can only relate with other non-binary people?
Yeah, when you're putting an application in and you're like male female and there's no other box or no other anything and you're like, well, I guess I am gonna put a question mark because there's no, little things like that does make a difference, because you're literally putting me in a box. Now I have
Mhm.
to check one or the other. Ugh, and then naming, that's another thing, like not every non-binary person is gonna change their name, but they might alternate it or something like that. And that's another problem when people use the dead name. The dead name is a name previous that you were known as before. And that's another problem navigating your non binary world. Having to tell the people that have known you forever, you can't call me by that anymore.
And I just want to point out that a lot of people think that dead names only apply to transgender people. So
Mm.
I want to clarify that that is also applicable for non binary people.
And straight people. It
Yes.
applies to the world to anybody.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a good point. That's true. But that's been the biggest issue, that you don't want to be called, your dead name. And here we are having to tell people again, a public service announcement, don't call me by my birth name. And they don't respect it because they don't understand it. And then when you try to explain it to them, they refuse to go through with it. So that's a problem. That's a big problem. Um, I guess I mean I don't know what other examples I could give, but so for now, those are the biggest ones I have problems with. Yeah.
And I guess I also want to ask this with a dead name, but from people that you've known for so long, right? Um, and they have trouble uh, using your dead name. How many times is too many times?
After like second time is too many fucking times, especially for me because like I've been using Choobie for 12 years now. So if you've known me for this long and then out of nowhere you call me by my dead name, then there's a problem. But if you haven't called me by Choobie, then and I explained to you that you need to, and you refuse to, then that's just a problem. They're just not caring. Again, you don't need people like that. Like, why are you not understanding? I tell them, think about it as like a nickname. Just give me just call me that. It's a nickname. Just don't think about it as anything else but a nickname. If it's that fucking hard for you, explain to me why. So then we could, walk you through the fucking process. So you could get to the point where it's like, this is my name, and this is the only way I'm gonna answer to you. Other than that, it's pointless to talk to people.
And I just want to say I love the name Choobie, so
Thank you,
Choobie.
thank you. Yeah, my best friend gave it to me. She was trying to make fun of me, and then backfired. So there we go.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
have a lot of those too.
Not noted. And you just brought up a point that I was just wanted to point out. Not every non-binary is transitioning or a transgender. Just to clarify to people that there are non-binary people out there who are attracted to women only, or vice or only attracted to men. Not everybody non-binary is a transgender. Not every non-binary is a pansexual. Just actually, and also not every non-binary, they could be straight too, which is yeah. So there's always misconception on that. So I just wanted to clarify.
I'm sorry. I still really have a hard time differentiating gender and sex. So when you said you can be non-binary and still be straight, that kind of just made my brain turn a little bit because I'm
Yeah, because you could identify as he, well, you're non-binary, so you go identify as a he, they, or she, them, and just be attracted to the opposite sex. Yeah, that's a thing. You could still be
I understand. It's just in the Western culture, it's very the
yeah,
same thing. It's one thing, gender and sex. So
yeah.
forgive me for having difficulty navigating through that.
No, it's okay. At first, for me, it was hard. I mean, I not hard as in the way to comprehend it, but it was just like so everybody could be anything, and it's just how you identify whatever makes you freaking happy. So yeah.
And recently, I've been looking at, different pronouns. How do you feel about there? I believe it was them.
Yeah, I'm not hip with the new terminology or the new things that's out there. I'm just gonna keep it to where I know where I reach, where I'm going, But no, I heard about all of them, and to each their own. If you feel like those apply to you, perfect. Like I'm happy for you. But I'm not too familiar with the new terms out there. But I heard all about them, so I
Yeah,
don't know.
right. And I've also seen people using pronouns whichever they prefer, like not or their pronouns that don't currently exist in the terminology, and that's how they identify. So that's okay too. So
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be something that's already set in stone. If you find something that you believe that is you, that is home for you, and that's
right.
okay too.
And that's the thing. You can't let other people dictate how you're gonna want to feel or identify as. Like if that's you and that's your home, then own it, and that's it. I mean, people can be cruel and annoying, but there's nothing much we could do about that. But it's how we, react to them.
Sure. You're right. And as the only non binary person in my life, which I'm so grateful for, are there any other issues that you wanted to bring up that I haven't asked about?
And the non-binary. I don't know. There's so many other issues in the non-binary world, especially when you're trying to dress a certain way, and especially at work, if you go to a physical place and they're like, you can't dress like that, or they don't give you the freedom to be, expressive with that. That's just little things. Well, it's not little, because that could be a problem, because you're being discriminatory against someone. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a lot of people think you're crazy. Obviously, there's a problem or you're sick, so it just becomes more complicated in that way. So we just need to navigate.
And it's just like how, in general, people think being queer is a mental illness, and I hate that.
Exactly. So that's just another whole other issue on its own. So
Right.
other than that, being non-binary is like people are gonna ask you 5,000 times what you identify as, because they don't know, because you look like me. So people are not gonna know. So
Right.
So we have to be prepared to answer it 200 times.
And I just want to apologize for not asking you your pronouns when we first met.
It's
sorry.
okay. I mean, like I said, it didn't bother me because it was gonna come up eventually. You have a conversation with someone, but I don't think that should be the norm to ask. I mean, it's respectful. Yeah, I get it, but I mean, we're humans. We're gonna slip up. So, but I forgive you, just in case you.
And I want to thank you for opening my mind, because again, you're the only non-binary person that I've met, and it really showed me how much bias I have still with gender and the binary system, and believing you have to look a certain way to be non-binary. Thank you, Choobie.
No, I mean, I don't blame you. Like I said, it's another social construct that you have to look androgynous, and we don't. Some of us look more femme, some of us look more masculine, and some are very manly, and some are very feminine. It's just all the spectrum in the board. So
I'm very grateful to have you on, because now more people can learn about this and all these social constructs, this whole idea that you have to look a certain way to be non-binary, to make people more aware of the kind of issues that you have to go through. So
and that's another thing. Everybody goes through their own journey of being non-binary. So you see me, this is not the only non-binary person there is. There's so many that obviously look different. So just find what fits you, your image, and what's gonna make you happy, and then from there, you're gonna live an authentic life. And I don't know, just be you, whatever the hell you want to do with your life. So, but you're very welcome. I enjoyed it, and I hope people do, come across this video and be like, well, they did me. I am fine with it. So
yeah, and it's such a big thing for people to feel represented. And I just want to close this off by asking one last question. Do you have any funny stories about me? I know we've only known each other for a short time, but do you have any funny stories about me?
Any funny stories about you? No, not really. Nothing that I could share. So no.
Well, that sucks. I guess I'm not as funny as I thought. Okay. Well, that was a sufficient ending to this podcast. Thanks, Choobie. Thank you for listening, and I really hope that you did gain some knowledge about what it's like being non-binary, because I know I did, and I really didn't know too much before meeting Choobie, so I really appreciated having them on this podcast, and I hope you did too. I love you all. Please do not forget to follow me on Instagram. That's GAYMONOLOGUES at Gay Monologues. And this gay still doesn't know how to spell without the words in front of them. I'll catch you all on a Friday. Okay, bye. Oh yeah, please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to this gay ass YouTube channel. Okay, bye for real.